Joe Budden returns to the podcast, but it's under mysterious circumstances. Joe Budden missed several episodes to Patreon, but he returned on the last episode and a lot was going on. They went back to their old studio, but I actually think something else is going on behind the scenes, and I'm going to spend this video trying to figure out what's going on. I'm also going to ask all of you to leave some thoughts in the comments about what you think may be happening, and also review some of the highlights of this episode that might get us some insights. Now, the first thing that really starts things off is when Joe says that he was sleeping and he was sleepwalking and he was butt naked walking throughout wherever he was at. Now, a lot of people have started to theorize that maybe he was sleepwalking in his studio and he was naked, and the people in that building that probably cost like $2 million condos, they probably reported him, and they had been going through a lot in that building, so that's why they could no longer record in the studio. Some people think that he may have been cheating on Sade. I don't know if that's the case, but hey, anything is up for discussion, because Joe said that he was going through personal issues, but he also said he was going to the Usher concert. And it was on the heels of the Podwives episode where something interesting happened, and Sade revealed that she had some type of issue with her pregnancy, and her and Joe agreed to not have a child. And I think that may be the reason why maybe content went too far, and Joe may have went a different direction instead of recording his podcast. I'm going to keep it real. Joe said he was at an Usher concert. He was also on Instagram at the Louis store. And one more thing that I think people are underestimating is Joe heavily investing in Bitcoin.
Bitcoiners! My Bitcoin gang! It's up. Yo, I talk never sell. Never sell.
And you've been buying.
I never stop.
Bitcoin has skyrocketed in value. I think bro was dropping the bag on his shorty, Real Kate Eyes or Sade, and it could have been as a result of what went down on Podwives. And there's also some other clues. One is Flip says he knows what's happening. He knows exactly what's happening. Park says he knows exactly what's happening. And there's two reasons why that may be, I believe, is I think Flip has knowledge of Joe and Sade's relationship, because there was a while back last year, which is coincidentally around the same time, Joe was looking to act, like he was acting differently. He was moody on the spaces, he was moody on the pod, and it was revealed later on that he was actually on a break from Sade. And I think Sade is at the source of why Joe disappeared. I think the way Flip said, I knew what was going on, it gives insight into exactly what's happening. It could be media related, right? Because Parks and Flip both handle the media side of the business. And by that, I mean Parks records the audio of the podcast. Meanwhile, Flip also knows what it is to run a podcast. He knows what it is to create content and all that good stuff. But only time will tell. And that whole sleepwalking thing is a little bit insane, because that could even lead to a bunch of other issues that could be going on. I truly believe that something happened with Sade. I believe that the Podwives was a big incident. Content went too far, and Joe saying that he was going through personal issues just doesn't really make sense to me, because he recorded Podwives Part 2 and he said it on the pod. Yo, Parks, why you had to let everybody know I recorded Podwives? Why you let that slip out? He was going to Usher concerts. It just don't add up. Now, I think another part of this that I mentioned earlier in the video is that there might be issues going on with the apartment complex in which they stay. As countless times on the pod, they said there's a lot of complaints from the neighbors. There's a lot of people upset at the way they're conducting themselves in that studio. Even if you look at the behind the scenes footage of the podcast, what you see is an apartment, and they even have a bedroom where somebody sleeps and all of that stuff. So it's like a mixed use residence. I don't even know if they're following proper protocol, proper building codes. I don't even know if it's completely legal. And they might be transitioning into another studio. And another thing is, hey, maybe that studio's too expensive. But that doesn't really jive with me because I think, hey, man, they're making insane amounts of money. So why is that, like, why would that be an issue? Another thing that can be an insight is Ice, it wasn't there. I think Ice wasn't there because, you know, he lives, I believe, if I had to guess, I have no idea if this is true. I think he lives in like Philadelphia or something. I don't think he lives in Jersey. I don't think he lives in New York City. And I think he has to drive over. So I believe him driving to Queens was like a reason for him not to come through to the pod. Or they could have said, hey, I don't know how it's going to work because there's a lot of people here on the pod. So there's a lot of theory style, and Ish even comes to the back end of the video, which means that Ish is probably recording the Patreon, but he wasn't going to be on the main episode. Mark Lamont Hill tends to check out whenever the Patreon is being recorded. But let me know what you think in the comments. I'm telling you, I am like a FBI agent right now. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I'm relying on my skills of deduction and also the commenters. I want the commenters to help me work cold. It's a cold case. I'm not lying. This is like the first 48. We got 48 hours to figure this out, or everything will evaporate in air and we won't be able to, get to the bottom of this. So I'm asking all of the detectives, the people who want to do the science, lead me in the right direction. There's like Goku with the spirit bomb. And I also remember when I watched Breaking Bad, there was a season when Walt White, he did like this crazy caper, right? I think this was the season where he murked Gus. And he disappeared. And he was like, yo, I got to make it so I don't look like I'm crazy. So you know what he did? He went to like a store in the middle of Arizona or New Mexico, and he walked out with his underwear on just so he could look crazy. Is that what Joe did with this sleeping, with this sleepwalking story? I was sleeping butt ass. I don't know, y'all. So to summarize, Joe came back. He says he was undergoing something personal. Then he adds the sleepwalking story. But then he also mentions that he was at the Usher concert. And he was on Instagram shopping at the Louis store. You know that Louis store in Manhattan where there's like 7 levels and it looks like a Louis bag. And I also noticed that Bitcoin has skyrocketed in value. Bitcoin went up like $40,000, bro. I think Joe got that money. Sade was feeling some type of way about the pod wives. And Joe said, I got to make this right. I got to buy my girl a Louis bag. I got to take her to the Usher concert. And he had Corey with him at the Usher concert. I heard Corey got a new car himself. Maybe a Rolls Royce, possibly. I don't know if that's the case, but I heard that. So, once again, this is a pending case. I even put this on my notebook. I have a little notebook where I keep, tabs on some of the clues. Parks knows, Flip knows what happened. So that means Ish, Ice, Melissa Ford, they don't know what happened, probably because they don't care, but Parks has to know, and Flip is always watching stuff behind the scenes. But, once again, let me know what you thought about the episode. I thought the episode was decent. It was pretty good. Joe was sorely needed. I really like him as the A Mike. Like I said, there's not a beef with Flip at all. I know Flip is looking for me in New York, but I just think he's not a good A Mike unless G Money's around. All right, everybody, follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Make sure you follow me on Twitter for sure because there's a lot of craziness going on Twitter right now. It's the end of December, and I think Twitter has been more interesting than the pod, especially the spaces, because people are airing each other out. I'm not saying they're better podcasters. I'm just saying there's more drama. And I think the reason there's more drama happening on spaces is because around December, it's the holidays, right? The holidays are really a reconciliation of the decisions or what life is what's going on in your life, right? The holidays remind you of maybe relatives that are no longer around, maybe a significant other that you're no longer with. And I think everybody's going through them feels. And I believe that's why everyone's crashing out on each other. So that's why you need to go follow me on Twitter, because it's all happening on my spaces and other people's spaces. Also, my Patreon is humming along. I have 100 pieces of content on that. 100 pieces. A mix of videos, audio files, all type of stuff. So it's really something to behold. It only costs $3, and I'm posting on there almost daily now. So it's really up and running. With that said, I'm Danny from The Stop. Peace.